Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Collins. I'm in Dr. Rittman's lab at ASU, and today I will be discussing some literature review tips and tricks that I've learned this semester that might be beneficial to you, and also go over my research progress this semester so far. Right now, I am a first semester PhD student, so my goal this semester has been to do a lot of literature review and get a solid foundation of knowledge, specifically of PFAS or per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, since those are the contaminants that I will be investigating during my PhD, specifically how to treat them and break these carbon fluorine bonds, which are very, very strong, via biodegradation or the use of microbes to transform harmful compounds like PFAS into harmless products such as carbon dioxide, water, and fluoride ions. And the title of the project that I'm working on right now is biodegradation of PFAS after reductive defluorination. And reductive defluorination just means that PFAS are first partially or mostly treated chemically or abiotically to get rid of a lot of these carbon fluorine bonds. And then for the rest of the bioremediation process of PFAS, the microbes can be implemented. So here are some diagrams of what two particular PFAS that I'm interested in researching right now, which are PFOA or perfluorooctanoic acid and PFOS or perfluorooctane sulfonic acid, uh, which have a lot of carbon fluorine bonds, and they also are longer chain PFAS, meaning that they have 7 or more carbons in their chemical backbone, which is this carbon-carbon chain. So anyway, moving on. The research questions that I'm trying to answer this semester or in the future are as follows. The first research question is, how many fluorine atoms need to be removed from PFOA and PFOS to allow them to become biodegradable? Number two, how do the kinetics improve as the number of fluorine atoms removed increases? And number three, for an equal amount of defluorination, are shorter chains more biodegradable than longer chains? And so my goal is to be able to answer these research questions by first looking at the literature and the research that has already been done. And then if these questions are not answerable by the current and previous literature that has been published, then I want to try to answer these questions by doing experiments of my own. And also, the reason that I'm looking at PFAS specifically is because the carbon-fluorine bond is the strongest bond in organic chemistry, meaning that it requires a lot of energy to break these bonds, and it requires a lot of work for microbes to be able to do this. So I want to really investigate how to break these bonds, especially because some of these PFAS, including these longer chain PFAS, can pose a lot of health issues for humans. And how this works is that PFAS are endocrine disruptors, meaning that they block signals between biomolecules and cells in the human body, preventing the body's cells from communicating with one another, which can really be a problem, especially with people's immune systems, where all of the cells need to be on the same page to fight disease and be able to perform properly. And so if there are issues with the immune system or other systems in the human body, then that can lead to an increased risk of becoming ill And there has been increased, like, for example, pregnancy issues, increased risk of cancer, and a lot of other health problems associated with exposure to PFAS. Next, I will go over some literature review tips that I think all of us could benefit from. Uh, so one of the main things that I did to find the literature and references that I wanted to begin with was to look for literature using databases that are reliable, credible, and comprehensive. So these are the three main databases that I looked through, especially because ASU's online library is available to me. Um, so here I have hyperlinks for all of these databases that you can go through. And with ASU Library, you can look for journals, articles, books, magazines, and newspapers. I mainly look for the articles that are published by journals that are trustworthy and reliable and provide good, sound science to review. And one example of exclusion criteria that I have for literature is if it's a dissertation or thesis, I typically exclude that because dissertations and theses do not undergo the same level of peer review as journal articles that have been published. So, and then also Google Scholar is a really great option for finding papers, as probably all of us know by now, and it is pretty comprehensive. So much so that it's pretty overwhelming because, for example, when you look up PFAS, you get hundreds of thousands of results. So you definitely want to make sure that your search queries are more specific. But even when I'm looking up biodegradation of PFAS, that still gets me thousands of results. So I'll go over in more detail how I really made sure that my search queries were pretty specific when I was doing the literature search. Um, and then Scopus is a really great option for looking up very specific search queries, because what you can do with Scopus is you can search within different fields when you're looking up titles or keywords for documents. So you can either search within all fields, or you could, what I did was I searched within all fields, and then I also searched within the article title, abstract, and keywords. That really helped condense the search. And then one thing to keep in mind, kind of like I was saying before, is to make sure that the sources you're citing and the literature that you're gathering is credible and peer reviewed. So double check to make sure that your journals that you're finding the papers in are also credible and peer reviewed. And one thing that I really thought was super helpful that I'll show you guys an example of here soon is keeping a spreadsheet of all of the search queries you use to look for the literature that you're trying to find that's relevant to your research. This really helps to organize your searches and make sure that you're not trying to search up the same thing multiple times because you forgot whether or not you searched for a specific phrase or word. And then I think that in light of the fact that ASU recently partnered with OpenAI, I think that it's a good idea to embrace AI, but you want to make sure that you're only using AI that is reliable. So what I mean by that is you want to make sure when you're trying to do a literature review, for example, that if you're going to use AI, it needs to be specifically an AI tool for research. So for example, Scopus AI is an AI tool that draws out information from the Scopus database. So With Scopus AI, what you can do is you can type in research questions and see what sort of responses you might get. And like for example, it'll explain here how the Scopus AI works, which I think is great. It's really important to know how an AI tool works so that you know for a fact that you're getting sound science and reliable information. An example of unreliable information in the past is Chat GPT, from what I've found, because sometimes I would try to be like, hey, Chat GPT, can you tell me what resources or references I could use to explain so and so or this topic or whatever. And sometimes it would give me uh, titles of papers that didn't even exist. So with Scopus AI, you won't have to worry about that. However, there are some research questions, of course, that AI is incapable of answering because of maybe the AI tool's limitations, or just the fact that the research questions might not have been answered yet, or at least within the information provided for this database. For example, when I tried typing in those research questions that I was explaining to you all and telling you all about earlier for my project, neither Scopus AI nor this other AI tool called Consensus could provide me with a good answer for any of the three research questions. But still, it's good to check these out and see if they can be useful. So that might be a good way of finding some sources for your writing. And then one main thing about literature review, it is a very time-intensive process that you have to keep up with pretty much on a daily basis in order to get pretty far into it. Because, of course, reading, for me personally, it takes a long time. It takes me a lot of time to be able to digest what I'm reading and really understand it on a deep level. So, when I'm sifting through literature, mainly focus on the title and keywords and to see if whether or not the paper is relevant to me. And then when I'm actually going through and reading the literature, I mainly focus on the abstract and conclusions because those sections typically have most of the main findings of the paper within them. So, like, rather than reading a paper from front to back, word by word, every single part of the paper, sometimes it's a bit better to try to skim through it, not too much, because you still want to learn from the paper and learn about what the knowledge gaps are, but still you don't want to spend too much time on any one paper because time is money and time is a resource and time is precious. So next, I will be giving a literature review demonstration specifically of the spreadsheet that I used for my search queries. And it's quite a spreadsheet, so I'll go through it. Okay. So this first column is just the search query number. Like, I numbered each of the search queries and I have a total of 86 queries. So that's quite a bit. And then in the second column, I have the actual search query that I used. Some of these queries have quotation marks in them and some of them do not. And let me explain. So for example here, biodefluorination and PFAS are the two key words that I have for this query. So when I put these in quotations, that means that when I'm searching with the papers that show up as a result of this query will only be papers that contain both the word biodefluorination and also the word PFAS, for example. So that is why for these quotation mark search queries, there are less searches than for other search results that do not have quotation marks. Um, because they're more specific searches. Whereas, like, for example, if I looked up or sorry, if I looked up, for example, biodegradation of PFAS, I'm gonna get a heck of a lot of search results because oftentimes what I've noticed when I've searched these papers is that there are a lot of chemical treatment options for PFAS, but biological treatment options haven't been investigated nearly as much. So some of these search results might not even be about necessarily biodegradation of PFAS, or maybe some of these results will refer once or twice to biodegradation of PFAS, but the topic of the paper is not the same as this. So that could explain why there are a lot more searches for these sorts of search queries. And then, so the total number of search results is a big number. It's hundreds of thousands of search results. However, I did not go through each and every one of the search results. And also, these are not distinct search results. A lot of these search results overlapped. Like, for example, when I looked up biotransformation of PFOS and biotransformation of PFOS defluorination products, a lot of these papers probably overlapped and were the same. So there weren't a total of 270,000 papers relating to all 86 of these search queries. However, yeah, so based on time constraints, of course, because there always is one, I would not go through every single one of the search results. What I did was I sorted the results by relevance, and then if it got to a point where the papers weren't looking very relevant anymore, I would just move on to the next search query. And I would only go through maybe 100 or 200 papers at the most for each search query. And also, so up here at the top, I have the search queries that I found for the ASU library, for Scopus, and for Google Scholar. One asterisk means that in Scopus, I searched within all fields. And then for the Scopus column with two asterisks, that means that I searched only within the article title, abstract, and keywords. So that explains why there are less Scopus search results for this column than there are for this column. And then also another important feature that I forgot to mention about Scopus is that you can set search alerts. So for example, like after you're done searching for an item, and you're done going through all the papers that you found for the search query, you can set a search alert to inform you whether more papers have been published that would fall under that search query. Like for example, in April 2024, if a new paper comes out about biodefluorination of PFAS, then Scopus will let me know. So I set search alerts for all of these search queries. So yeah, that is the demonstration of my spreadsheet. And if any of you would like for me to share this spreadsheet with you so that you can put in your own search queries and make it really simple for you to work with, then let me know and I'll share it with you. All right, so that was that. So next, I want to go over citation generators because I think that all of us could benefit from using these. These citation generators and management software, they are lifesavers, time savers, everything. So there are a lot of different options that you can try out. There's Mendeley, EndNote, ProQuest, RefWorks, Zotero, and there's probably others out there. Um, I am mostly familiar with Mendeley and Zotero. I have heard of a few people using EndNote, but since my experience lies with these two, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And some of this information may overlap with other citation generating software. So, Zotero and Mendeley are really awesome. And I have links to the main pages for Zotero and Mendeley in this spread in these slides if you are interested in checking them out. And what these do is they are able to import and store literature as PDFs in organized folders, which is awesome. And then these citation softwares make it very easy to cite literature and even just websites as well. And you can use many different citation styles, like, for example, APA format, MLA format, Chicago manual style, IEEE, Elsevier. And then both of these offer free plans. However, Mendeley is the best because Zotero only offers 300 megabytes for free, and then after that you have to pay money annually. But then with Mendeley, ASU students and faculty get a lot of storage for free and even have unlimited private groups of up to 100 collaborators. So that's awesome. So next I'll demonstrate how to use Zotero just so that you can see how quick and easy it is to use. So first with Zotero, what you do is you click on the app and make sure that it's open in order for you to be able to save citations to it. As you can see here, you can organize your literature into different folders and also in different group libraries that you create. I've definitely exceeded the storage quota for the Rittman Lab group library that I created, so I'm in the process of moving everything over to Mendeley at the moment. But yeah, so how to save a paper to Zotero. So first you go over to your web browser, type in whatever you'd like into the search. And then here at the top right corner, you click on this extensions button, and then you click on Zotero connector. And then once it saves into the folder that you want, and that'll happen once this goes away, then you can go into the Zotero app and it'll be highlighted for you automatically, which is really awesome. So it should be saved in there by now. And yeah, here it is, highlighted, ready to be looked at. So then when you double click on it, you get a PDF of it. And then you can highlight whatever you want in the PDF, different colors, if you want blue, or if you want purple, whichever color you're feeling snazzy about. And then you can add comments and notes to each of the highlights that you make in the document. And so yeah, this is a really, really great tool. And then to cite into a Microsoft Word document, what you can do is open the Word document that you want, and then when you want to put in an in-text citation, what you do is you go over to the Zotero tab, and then click Add or Edit Citation, and then select the citation style that you want, and then search up the title of the paper that you want to cite. So what was the title of the paper that we were just looking at? An overview of the uses of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. And there we go. We have our in-text citation. And then if you want to add a references page, what you do is you go back to the Zotero tab and then click Add or Edit Bibliography, and then it'll automatically cite all of your in-text citations with full citations in the style that you want. And if you just want to copy paste a citation, what you can do is go into the app, right click on the paper you want to copy the citation for, then select copy to clipboard and the citation style you want, click OK, then go over and paste. So yeah, that's how you use Zotero. Next, I will be giving a demonstration of how to use Mendeley, which is pretty similar to Zotero. So first you want to make sure that the desktop app is open. And then similarly with Zotero, you can organize all of your papers in collections and sub-collections, which is really great to be able to organize everything the way you want. Then in your web browser, you go over to whichever paper you want to cite, and then you click the extensions button, like with Zotero, and then instead you click on the Mendeley web importer. Then once you're able to get the Mendeley to load, you can add the journal article to Mendeley. And I recommend adding the journal article rather than the web page. And then you can see that it's in the process of adding the paper to the app. And once it loads, you'll see these check marks. And then you can see that it shows up here in the folder that you wanted it to show up in. And then when you double click on it, you can view its PDF and also highlight stuff in the PDF, like with Zotero. And you can also add notes. And to use Mendeley in Microsoft Word, what you do is instead of going over to the Zotero tab, of course, you go over to the References tab in Zotero, and then you'll see Mendeley Cite. So to insert an in-text citation, first what you do is when you are able to see the Mendeley Cite option here, you click on that. And then you select the reference that you want to add, and then insert the citation, and there you go. Let's go. And then to add a bibliography, what you do is you click on these three dots here, and then you can insert bibliography, then click continue, and there you go. And you can also change the citation style and language however you would like. So yeah, that's how you use Mendeley, which is really, really useful, like Zotero. Oh, all right. Going back to my slides. So the last thing that I wanted to go over that could be helpful to you all is a software called Covidence that allows you to be able to sort through and identify papers that align with your research interests. And here is the hyperlink for Covidence. Oh, shoot. And here it is. It is self-proclaimed to be the world's #1 systematic review tool, and systematic review is one type of literature review. So yeah, if you're interested in checking that out, once I explain how it works, and see if it could be useful to you, then feel free to do so. And uh, like I so Covidence can aid in conducting various types of literature reviews. This link here explains all of these reviews in more detail. Uh, what I'm doing right now is a systematic review, which is the most comprehensive, detailed, and specific type of review that Covidence offers for you to be able to do. And a rapid review is quicker and not as stringent or strict as a systematic review is. But if you're in a time crunch, then that might be a good option for you. And an umbrella review is a review of review papers. So you may notice when you've searched the literature in the past that there are a lot of review papers that have been published about a topic. So that's basically what an umbrella review is all about. So that's pretty interesting. And then there's also a scoping review that addresses a broad rather than specific research question. Like, for example, what are the mechanisms of biodegradation of PFAS? That might be more of a broad research question than the questions that Dr. Rittman and I are investigating. And a narrative review is just an overview of a topic. So an overview of biodegradation of PFAS. And the following steps are done during a systematic review when you're using Covidence, which I'll demonstrate how that works in the future here soon. And the first step is to look at the titles and abstracts and see, based on the title and abstract, whether the paper is relevant. And then number two, the second step is a full text review where you read through the main parts of the text to see whether or not it really is relevant to what you're trying to look for. And then number three, you can extract data that can aid you in answering research questions or fulfill the research objectives that you have. So next, I'll provide you all with a demonstration. I haven't gone through all of the steps of Covidence just yet, because I'm still in the works with my specific systematic literature review. So I'll show you guys a demo review to see what all of the steps are like. So here, first you import the references and it'll remove duplicates for you, which is awesome. Oh my gosh. And then the first step or the second step after importing references is the title and abstract screening, which is where you look at the title and the abstract, and then you select either no, it's not relevant to what we're looking for, maybe relevant, or yes, it's definitely relevant. And I'll only usually have literature move on to the next step if I click yes rather than maybe or no. And then with the full text review, there's a PDF link to each of the documents that you're looking through so that you can read through it all and then decide whether or not you want to include it in the remaining literature review process steps or exclude it. And then the last step is extraction, where based on the data provided in the full text, you can extract that data and see whether or not it could be useful in answering your research questions. And you can have one or two or even more people decide on whether or not the literature is good for the specific literature review that you're doing. So, for example, when you're doing the screening of the title, abstract, and full text review, if, like, for example, one person puts no and one person puts yes, the third reviewer can kind of like be the tiebreaker, so to speak, and decide whether or not the paper will or will not be included. And then if there's like a if like someone does a no, a maybe, if someone does a no, someone does a maybe, someone does a yes, then they can all come together and make a final decision on whether or not the paper will be included or not. So yeah, that's how Covidence works. So finally, this is the last part of my presentation. Uh, I'll go over my research progress and the future work that I want to do. I finished the literature search, which was time consuming, but also it was a good process. And I really learned a lot from this process because this is the most comprehensive literature search that I've done for my whole life. And then I haven't finished the Covidence screenings yet. That's a work in progress. After I do that, I want to sift through all of the information and data from the literature to try to answer the research questions with and identify knowledge gaps to address in my future research. And then, based on everything I find this semester, I will synthesize my findings in a critical review report that I'm currently also working on right now. And in the future, I want to investigate not just PFOA and PFOS, but also other PFOS compounds, for example, like perfluorohexanoic sulfonate. Uh, and the reason I want to look at this one is because it has been proven to have a higher occurrence in the environment than PFOA and PFOS, according to some PFOS experts who I know from the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality and other organizations. And it is also more mobile in the subsurface than PFOA and PFOS, which could explain why it has a higher occurrence because it's able to get around to more places in the environment and in groundwater and soil. So when investigating the biodegradation of this particular shorter chain PFOS compound than PFOA and PFOS, first I'll conduct a literature review like I've been doing this semester. Then I'll formulate research questions based on the knowledge gaps that I identify during the literature review. And then I'll begin designing experiments and write about my findings. Reading and writing are very critical tasks for researchers. And I really learned just how critical they are this semester, especially. So that concludes my presentation. And if any of you have any questions, sorry, I'm trying to, okay. If any of you have any questions, feel free to ask right now. And you can always email me at hcollin6@asu.edu. And thank you for your time.